I've been turning wrenches for over 20 years, own my own shop now, 8 guys on the floor, and there's a conversation I have almost every week. Someone drives in with something they just bought and I can see it in their face. They already know. They just need me to say it out loud. So today, I'm making that call early. 5 cars I genuinely tell my own family to walk away from in 2026. Not because the badge is bad, because these specific models, these specific years, have patterns I keep seeing, and they're expensive patterns. One of them costs 90 grand and can't stay out of my shop. One's a family hauler that shuts off while you're driving. And one, honestly, it surprised me too. Let's get into it. You can spend 100 grand on a Range Rover and still end up on a first name basis with a service advisor. I see it all the time. Someone buys one used because it looks like a bargain now. And that's the trap. Luxury price doesn't buy you luxury reliability. You get hit twice, first with depreciation, then with repairs. Some of these drop about 61% in 5 years. So a 130k-ish truck can lose you close to 80 grand just in value. In the shop, the pattern's pretty consistent. Electrical oddities, air suspension trouble, and cooling system leaks. The average repair spend is around $1,258 a year, and there's roughly a 50-50 chance of a major repair in the first 5 years. That matches what I see. Air suspension is the big one, because it's also why people want the car. The airbags crack, height sensors act up, the compressor wears out, and then it's sitting crooked on your driveway. Figure about $1,700 for an airbag, $1,200 to $1,400 for a compressor, and if you end up doing the lot, $6,000 to $7,000 isn't unusual. Then you've got infotainment freezers, camera and Bluetooth gremlins, random warning lights, and parasitic battery drain. Car sits a few days, and it's dead. Diagnosis is where the money goes, $500 to $1,200 plus just to chase the fault. And cooling systems, plastic housings and pipes go brittle, crack, leak, then you're into a water pump and a chain reaction of while we're in there. So here's the rule of thumb. A cheap used Range Rover isn't a deal. It's a discounted repair subscription. People tell me, recalls are free, so it's no big deal. And I get why you'd think that, but free doesn't mean convenient. Free can still mean a flatbed, a week without the car, and you juggling school runs in a borrowed hatchback. The Jeep Grand Cherokee is on my avoid list mostly because of the sheer recall chaos. The 2024 model year has had around 15 NHTSA recalls, and Jeep sits near the bottom for reliability, 24th out of 25 on one big survey. That doesn't mean everyone is a lemon. It means, as a family car, it's hard to trust your calendar. The 4xe plug-in hybrid is the spicy one. There's been a big battery fire recall, over 320,000 vehicles, and the advice has literally been, don't charge it, park it outside, away from buildings. That changes how you live with the car. Then you've got that engine contamination issue, casting sand left behind, around 113,000 vehicles, with dozens of reported fires. And day to day, I still hear about harsh shifting, odd neutral moments, even rollaway concerns. Those are rarely quick fixes. Had a customer last month, nice bloke, reminded me of my uncle. 3 visits in 6 weeks for the same recall. Third time he just said, "Frank, I've spent more time here than at my own dinner table." Because the worst price isn't the repair bill, it's weeks of payments and no car. Cool cars sometimes turn into the most expensive, boring story because you end up telling it in a dealer waiting room. And look, the Bronco is a proper looker. They sell loads of them. But when a 2024 model year racks up around 18 recalls, that tells me you want to buy with your eyes open, not just with the hype. One I keep hearing about is the Sasquatch setup with the Bilstein shocks. On a lot of trucks, those shocks start corroding, leaking, then you get clunks and a floaty ride. People chase alignments and tyres when it's just worn, leaking hardware. Then there's steering related stuff, control arm bolts that can work loose. It's not common on every Bronco, but if it happens, it's a bad day. Any knock in the front end, any wandering, don't ignore it. Hardtop leaks have been a repeat theme from 2021 through 2025. Water in the cabin turns into smells, mould, and sometimes weird electrical faults later. And on the 2.7 EcoBoost, there have been reports of early engine failures, valve issues, sometimes under 10,000 miles. So my takeaway is simple. With Broncos, the exact build year and package matters more than the badge on the grille. Now, I'm genuinely curious. If you've got a Bronco or you work on them, drop a comment. What year, what package, and how's it been? The difference between brilliant and nightmare can be one option box. There's a pattern I see every time a car gets a big redesign. The first owners end up doing the debugging for everyone else. Not on purpose, it's just how it plays out. There's even a stat floating around that roughly 45% of redesigns come out below average for reliability in year one. And honestly, that lines up with what I see in the bays. The GMC Acadia is a good example. The common theme isn't one huge dramatic failure. It's the steady drip. Coolant leaks, topping it off, then a scare with the temp gauge creeping up. And the real kicker is parts. I've had people stuck for weeks waiting on a hose or a fitting. Car's fine in theory, but it can't leave because the part's on back order. Meanwhile, you're paying for a rental and life doesn't pause. Then you've got the infotainment, cameras, sensors. Not always broken, just glitchy enough that you're back in for software updates and chasing faults. And it's not just the Acadia badge. When the Chevy Equinox goes through these redesign phases, you see similar early headaches. Both even lost that Consumer Reports recommended nod. My rule? If you can, wait for year 2 or 3. You often pay less and get the version they've actually finished. Best version of a generation is usually the last year, not the first. And look, if that little never buy year 1 rule just saved you some grief, hit subscribe. I make these videos so you don't have to learn the expensive way. A like helps too. My dad taught me this one the hard way. Back in '94, he bought a first year model, and I swear we spent half that summer under the bonnet together instead of going anywhere. Lesson stuck. Let me talk about one that sounds perfect on paper, the Chrysler Pacifica Hybrid. Because this isn't a luxury thing or a cool car thing, this is a family van. Kids in the back, shopping, school runs, motorway miles. And the last thing you want is the car deciding it's done for the day. The pattern I keep hearing about is that stop safely message, and then you lose drive. A lot of it points to an internal transmission connector that can short out. And yes, there have been software updates, but even Chrysler's own wording basically admits the update can reduce the chances or delay it, not guarantee it won't come back. Then you've got the battery side of it. Around 19,500 vehicles in a fire-related recall and more than a few class action lawsuits floating around. That's not confidence inspiring. Here's the trap. The regular petrol Pacifica is generally the calmer choice. Same badge, very different risk. The hybrid's been discontinued for 2026 and I can't say I'm shocked. I told my sister straight, 3 kids, total chaos already. Do you really want to explain to them why you're stuck on the hard shoulder again? And remember this, a long warranty doesn't give you reliability, it gives you paperwork while the car sits. My tip, if you're shopping, pick the non-hybrid. If you already own the hybrid, stay on top of every recall and take any stop safely incident seriously, even if it clears itself. After 20 odd years in a workshop, you start to notice it's really the badge that ruins people's week. It's the same patterns over and over, and they catch good people out because the car looks lovely on the driveway. Rule 1. Be careful with first year redesigns. If you can wait 12 to 24 months, do it. Let someone else pay to find the little teething issues, and you often get a better car for less money in year 2 or 3. Rule 2. Spot the wallet nukes before you fall in love. Air suspension, complicated plug-in hybrids with ongoing recall stories, and gearboxes with a reputation. Those are the things that turn a nice used deal into regular expensive visits. Rule 3. Separate annoying from dangerous. A frozen screen is frustrating. Losing power, steering faults, or anything that can make the car do something you didn't ask it to do, that's a different conversation. Quick 60-second vetting before you sign. Run the VIN for recalls and get it in writing that they're completed. Ask for actual repair orders, not just full service history. And do a fast sniff and look. damp smell or watermarks, coolant smell or crusty residue, and any repeat warning lights. And zoom out a bit. Jeep and Chrysler being on the same parent company, Stellantis, and them paying billions in warranty and setting aside more for quality, that's not gossip, that's a signal. Smartest car buy isn't the one you want most, it's the one that doesn't hijack your life.